Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into Silver City Community Theater Radio Hour, Sundays at 4 on Gila Members Community Radio, KURU 89.1 FM, Silver City, New Mexico, and online at gmcr.org. Hi, I'm Wendy Spurgeon, your hostess here with weekly radio entertainment, meticulously edited by Chris Wellman of Mystic Way Productions, and featuring the fresh, locally sourced talent of Silver City Community Theater. As we continue to explore the golden age of radio, we discover all kinds of historical scripts and transcripts that enrich, educate, and entertain us. And we enjoy bringing these lost gems to light. We've got a great show for you today. Season 1, Episode 6. SCCT Radio Hour presents the Betty Crocker Magazine of the Air, featuring special guest Eve Curie, followed by Madame Curie, Columbia Workshop's half-hour adaptation of Eve Curie's biography of her famous mother, Marie Curie. So Betty Crocker, wow, Betty has worn many, many hats, but did you know that she once had her own radio show? Betty Crocker Cooking School of the Air was one of the longest radio programs in U.S. history. In 1924, just 3 years after General Mills created the composite Betty identity, Betty Crocker wasn't a person. She was a character, a composite character created by General Mills. So 3 years after this composite character was created, it debuted the Betty Crocker Cooking School of the Air on Minneapolis radio station WCCO. And home cooks everywhere tuned in to listen to their trusted kitchen confidant, at the time voiced by Marjorie Child Husted, who was also the first host and writer of the show. Betty's advice became so popular that the show was picked up and the program aired nationwide. It went on to become one of the longest running radio shows in U.S. history. It was like the Rachel Ray show of its time, part cooking show, part talk show, and all Betty Crocker. We found a transcript of a 1949 Betty Crocker show promoting Eve Curie's biography of her mother, Madame Marie Curie, and her discovery. So in this show, I'm going to be voicing Betty Crocker. We have the fabulous Doug Abbott as her co-host, Wynn Elliott, and guest Eve Curie is beautifully portrayed by Robin Santa Teresa. Let's give it a listen.
Crocker Service Program, a regular feature of General Mills. Marching along together, sharing every smile and tear. Marching along together, racing till the skies are clear. Marching along together, life is wonderful, side by side.
From coast to coast, General Mills brings you the Betty Crocker Magazine of the Air, featuring Eve Curie, the famous daughter of one of the world's most famous women. And here to welcome Eve Curie is America's First Lady of Foods, Betty Crocker.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. For just a moment, I'm going to ask you to imagine that you were someone else. Imagine what it would be like if your mother was the greatest woman scientist the world has ever known. Marie Curie gave the world one of its rarest elements, radium, which gave mankind the means of fighting its most dreaded disease. And she also gave the world a charming and brilliant daughter who has never traded on her mother's fame, but has achieved an eminence of her own as an author, lecturer, newspaper publisher, and above all, a French patriot. In just a moment, you'll meet Eve Curie, and having met her, you'll never forget her.
Well, since Mademoiselle Curie is French and I speak the Francais like the native, Betty Crocker, what is the menu for the day?
Well, in American English, here's my menu for today. We start the meal with chilled orange sections. And for the main dish, tender, juicy, golden brown cod steaks served with buttered broccoli and broiled sliced raw potatoes. And for a quick and easy dessert, a big slice of our gold medal apricot streusel coffee cake. Gold and brown with rich crumbs on top and a luscious, rich apricot filling.
Yum! Those gold medal coffee cakes, and in any language. Make mine a big piece. And you know, folks, if you haven't discovered how wonderful gold medal is for everything you bake, you're really missing something. Because gold medal is a perfectly balanced flour, blended from as many as 4 select wheats. No wonder it's America's favorite all-purpose flour, by nearly 2-to-1 over any other brand. And here's something else you should know. Over 1.5 million tests are made annually in the General Mills laboratories and kitchens to make sure gold medal flour is always uniform, with the same superb baking qualities, sack after sack, the year round. Get gold medal, kitchen-tested, enriched flour today, and look for that folder of tested Betty Crocker recipes that come in every sack.
And now, I want you all to meet our distinguished guest, a very lovely lady, Eve Curie. We are so delighted that you could drop in for a visit this morning, Eve, and welcome back to America too. How long will you be here this time?
About 11 weeks, doing a lecture tour.
Well, Eve, I know you visited America for the first time with your mother when you were just 16. What was your first impression of our country?
Well, as you know, Betty, on that trip, Mother had come to America to receive a most wonderful gift from the women of America. A 250,000 gram of the precious radium she had discovered, but was too poor to buy to continue her research. And there was so much excitement that I didn't have a real opportunity to get acquainted with America then.
But on your next visit, you made a coast-to-coast tour and became one of our most popular speakers. And what did you discover about America then?
Well, the European idea used to be that America was a nation of practical people all wrapped up in making money. I discovered that nothing could be further from the truth, more untrue. This is the most sentimental and idealistic country I know. It is the only country where one may find a genuine freshness of feeling, an immediate reaction to world events, and sincere indignation over wrongs committed. I have a deep love for America.
And America has taken you to her heart too, Eve. I know being the daughter of the world's greatest woman scientist must have presented some problems, with so much on her mind. Did your mother ever have time to spend with you and your sister?
As busy as she was, Mother was not only a great scientist, but a wonderful mother as well. And I know how difficult it must have been because there was very little money. As you know, she didn't want to take out patents on her discoveries, and my father was killed in a tragic accident when I was just 18 months old. So we were Mother's responsibilities. We had a very quiet life and a quiet and peaceful home. And I do believe my sister and I saw more of our mother than many girls do today who have socialite mothers, who have so many social engagements. They're never at home, you know?
Miss Curie, I'd like to tell you how much I enjoyed your biography of your mother. She was never really aware of her great fame, was she?
Oh, that is true, Win. She didn't mean to be modest. She just was. She never talked about herself to us, and I didn't know I had a famous mother until I came to America with her to receive the radium gift.
Well, Eve, you've achieved a fame of your own, and your modesty is most becoming. The work you did for France during the war has already made history. And now you're the co-publisher of the second largest daily newspaper in France. Won't you tell us a little bit about it?
We have a circulation of about 500,000, an afternoon paper. And as you know, the paper shortage is still very acute. So we only have 4 pages. Our Paris press looks very odd next to your nice fat American newspapers.
And is your newspaper set up very much like ours?
Yes, and the French love serials. And they were starved for American novels because there were none during the war. So we always had an American serial running in the Paris press.
Tell us, Eve, what are the conditions in France today?
Well, the French live better now, winning their fight against communism, shortages ending, producing much more. It is very important, the American aid that we received. Perhaps Americans would like to know where their money is going. As you know, we were under occupation for so long and also were very impacted by World War I. So it is very important that we have received this aid and developed the Monet Plan, which is helping France to restart its own industries, such as the steel industry. So as you see, your American dollars are put to very good use in our country.
Thank you, Eve. There has always been a tremendous spiritual bond between America and France, and I can't think of a lovelier ambassador of goodwill from your country to ours than Mademoiselle Eve Curie.
Oh, thanks, Betty Crocker.
Eve, I understand that you have a wonderful new apartment in Paris. Is the housing shortage as bad as it is here?
It is desperate. As you know, during the war, the Vichy government deprived me of my citizenship, and my belongings from my apartment were sold at auction. All my mother's furniture. It broke my heart. So when the war was over, for 4 solid years, I had a room at a hotel. And then just last spring, I found this charming apartment on the 7th floor, which is high for Paris. I can look out over the rooftops and have a beautiful view of the River Seine and the Notre Dame Cathedral.
It sounds perfectly beautiful. And by the way, we can't let you get away before you tell us the latest fashion news from Paris.
For Pete's sake, yes. What's happening to the ladies' skirts? I hope.
Well, I think you will get your hope, Win. Skirts will be shorter. Some of the French designers are making daytime skirts 16 inches from the floor. Then that's revolutionary in comparison with present styles.
Well, I can see why French designs are so popular.
And all the French designers are using a great deal of embroidery this spring, aren't they?
Oh, yes. And I believe this country will feel that fashion influence very strongly. And Jacques Fath, one of the most popular designers, has the interesting idea of using almond shell and walnut shells for trimming, combining them with heavy gold thread. I doubt whether that becomes very popular anywhere.
Well, it's all right if they give away a nutcracker with every dress. And now, not to change the subject much, but it sure smells wonderful in the kitchen this morning, and I'm getting even hungrier than usual.
That's an apricot streusel coffee cake I have baking in the oven, Win. And it will get done in just a few minutes. It's a beautiful, light, tender, quick bread with a surprise center of golden apricots and a crumbly, sweet streusel topping.
Is there anything more wonderful than a freshly baked coffee cake and a piping hot cup of coffee?
And Eve, this apricot streusel coffee cake is especially delicious. And we're going to make one right now so you can see how it's made. Here are the ingredients if you'd like to jot them down. 1 1/2 cups sifted gold medal flour. 3/4 cups sugar. 3 teaspoons double action baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon salt. 1/4 cup shortening. 1 egg. 1/2 cup milk and 1 teaspoon vanilla. 1/2 cup strained stewed apricots. Then for the rich crumb topping, you'll need 1/4 cup brown sugar firmly packed, 1 tablespoon of gold medal flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 tablespoon melted butter, and 1/4 cup chopped nuts.
Yum, that's what I smell. Cinnamon and brown sugar and chopped nuts. Apricot streusel coffee cake.
And here's how it's made. Sift the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt into a bowl. This way. Then cut in 1/4 cup of shortening with a pastry blender or 2 knives until the mixture looks like a meal. Then all you do is stir in the egg, milk, and vanilla and pour them into the dry ingredients, stirring enough so that all the ingredients are well blended.
What? No apricots?
Win's a big help in the kitchen, isn't he, Betty?
I wouldn't know what to do without him. We add the apricots now, Win. And here's the interesting part about this coffee cake. First, you spread half of the mixture into a well-greased and floured baking pan, 6 by 10 inches, like this. Then we'll spread the apricots over the batter well out to the edges of the pan so it covers the batter. This way. Now we'll add the rest of the batter, spooning it over the apricot filling. This is much easier than pouring it. And you know, if there's a young baby in the house...
There is in my house.
Well, strained apricot baby food is just right to use in this coffee cake. Then sprinkle the streusel topping over the mixture. Now we're ready to bake our apricot streusel coffee cake in our preheated, quick, moderate oven, 375 degrees, for 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll just take out the one we baked earlier and put in the one we just made into the oven to bake. There we are. And here's our apricot streusel coffee cake that's all baked and ready to eat. Doesn't it look tempting? Luscious hot coffee cake topped with rich streusel crumbs and a layer of golden apricots through the center. Welcome anytime. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And wonderful for an afternoon snack with a big glass of milk. And here are some success tips to remember when making this recipe. Mix only enough to blend the ingredients. Don't overmix. And spoon the second layer of batter over the apricots. Then spread it. It's easier this way. Now, Win, I'm glad to see you've passed samples of our apple streusel coffee cake to Eve, Curie, and our other guests.
Uh-huh. And I sampled some myself, and as your number 1 taste tester, I can say it is scrumptious.
Yum. Tasty.
Okay, let's get into our quiz. Question 1. If your husband asked you to make dumplings for dinner tonight, what kind of dough would you prepare? A, pie pastry, B, rolled biscuit dough, C, or drop biscuit dough.
All three are correct. Dumplings are made from all three types of dough, depending upon the type of dumpling desired.
Question 2. Why are bars of baking chocolate marked off in squares?
To make it easier to measure the chocolate for a recipe.
Question 3. If you were going to make hush puppies, which of the following would you need? A, sugarcane, B, cornmeal, or C, frankfurters?
You would need cornmeal. Hush puppies are thin corn pones fried in deep fat or baked in the oven.
Question 4. If someone said they were sending you some comices, anjou, and bosques, what kind of gift would you expect to receive?
Winter pears. Comices, anjous, and bosques are the three types of pears available this time of year. And now I'd like to give each of you who participated in our quiz a souvenir of your visit to our kitchen. Here are 3 Tupperware kitchen canisters of Bakelite plastics. I think you'll all like them because the Tupper seal covers are airtight and liquid tight. And a generous supply of gold meal flour. And all this goes to you too, Eve Curie, for your part in the quiz. And now, Eve Curie, I want to thank you for being such a charming guest. And we want you to have a souvenir of your visit to our kitchen, something to take back to your lovely new apartment overlooking the Seine. It's our General Mills Pressure Quick Saucepan. And I know you'll enjoy using it because it prepares the tastiest meals so much faster and easier.
Thank you, Betcare.
Do come and see us again. We've enjoyed having you so much, and we wish you continued success on your American lecture tour and your French newspaper. Goodbye now, and may the future hold worlds of happiness for Eve Curie.
Folks, if you'd like to have that recipe for that luscious apricot streusel coffee cake, just drop a card to Betty Crocker, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and ask for the recipe by name. And don't forget, by saving the recipe folders that come in each sack of gold medal flour, you can build a prize recipe collection of your own. You see, all those Betty Crocker success recipes have been developed for and tested with America's favorite flour, gold medal, kitchen-tested, enriched flour. And remember, each recipe folder contains a valuable silverware coupon, too. By saving these coupons, you can build a complete set of beautiful Queen Bess pattern in genuine Tudor plate created by the famous Oneida Community Silversmiths. Get gold medal flour today. Save the recipes and save those valuable silverware coupons.
Now win. Aren't there some new questions in our All You Have to Do department?
Yes, Betty Crocker. Mrs. McWolf of 1815 Beverly Road, Brooklyn, New York asks, what do you have to do to remove corks which have been forced down into bottles? Betty Crocker says,
Empty the bottle, then pour pure ammonia onto the cork. Allow it to stand, and the cork will disintegrate and can be removed easily. That's all you have to do.
And Mrs. Henry Regan of New York City would like to know, what do you have to do to prevent water from boiling off and burning the bottom of double boilers? Betty Crocker says,
Put a few of your child's marbles or a metal jar top in the water. When the water gets low, you'll hear a rattle to warn you to refill the pot. That's all you have to do.
Mrs. A. Roth, 1722 Linden Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, wants to know, what do you have to do to remove the scorch caused by starch from the bottom of an iron?
Cool the iron and rub the bottom of the iron with a soft cloth dipped in soap and water or silver cream. That's all you have to do. And I know you'll all want to make a special date to join us on Monday because our guest will be that charming and handsome star of the silver screen.
Aw, What's he got that I haven't got? Except a mustache.
Well, for one thing, he has an English accent because our guest on Monday is David Niven. You'll truly enjoy meeting him. So do be with us. I'll be expecting you. This is Zella Lane speaking for Betty Crocker.
You have been a guest of the Betty Crocker Magazine of the Air, brought to you Monday through Friday at this time for service, entertainment, and good eating by General Mills. Be with us on Monday to meet Betty Crocker's guest, David Niven, on the Betty Crocker Magazine of the Air, brought to you by General Mills.
Come to you with the best wishes of General Mills. We'll be back Monday with more of the same fine drama and hymns of all churches. This is Charles Lyon, your host on the General Mills Hour, saying see you then.
Thank you, Doug and Robin. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Gila Members Community Radio, KURU 89.1 FM, Silver City, New Mexico, and online at GMCR. I am Wendy Spurgeon with Silver City Community Theater Radio Hour, and we just recreated the Betty Crocker Magazine of the Air with special guest Eve Curie. And now let's hear the Madame Curie biography that Eve was just promoting. What a lucky find. Robin Santa Teresa returns as Eve Curie as the primary narrator of her parents' biography. Shelley Chase plays Marie Curie, Greg Jarrett plays Pierre Curie, and our supporting ensemble cast includes myself, Doug Abbott, Marianne Marlar, Greg Bond, Carol Gada, Monty Valenzuela, and Mary Barrett as the announcer. Enjoy Eve's story of Madame Curie.
The Columbia Workshop presents Madame Curie.
It's pretty hard, this life we have chosen, Marie.
No, it's perfect, Pierre. We have our work and we have each other. But, Pierre.
Yes?
We can't exist without each other, can we? If one of us should disappear, the other would not survive.
You are wrong, Marie. Whatever happens, even if one has to go alone, like a body without a soul, one must work just the same.
Yes, I was forgetting. In science, we must be interested in things, not in persons.
Tonight, the Columbia Workshop presents an experiment in biography by radio. Now available at booksellers throughout the land is a great biography of a great woman. Published by Doubleday Doran, Madame Curie, the story of the discoverer of radium, written by her daughter, Eve Curie, has this month won widespread critical acclaim as a bestseller. In a single half hour, no radio program can adequately present either an entire life story nor describe as intricate a scientific phenomenon as radioactivity, to the study of which Madame Curie devoted her life. Yet, the Columbia Workshop tonight will try, by utilizing the impressionism which is possible in radio, to bring to you both a sense of the greatness of the woman who was Madame Curie, and an appreciation of the magnitude of the achievements of the scientist who was Madame Curie. In this production, the workshop's director, William N. Robson, who has written and is directing the broadcast, has disregarded the devices and the sometimes confusing statistical baggage of biography, and has instead sought, by a technique still unfamiliar to American listeners, to interpret a great human being. We want you to know what you think of the results. We ask again for your comments, criticisms, and suggestions. The Columbia Workshop presents Madame Curie.
The life of Marie Curie contains prodigies in such numbers that one would like to tell her story like a legend. She was a woman. She belonged to an oppressed nation. She was poor. She was beautiful. A powerful vocation summoned her from her motherland, Poland, to study in Paris, where she lived through years of poverty and solitude. Then she met a man whose genius was akin to hers. Oh, I feel so good, so good.
There's nothing like a day in the country to sweep the cobwebs out of your brain.
Yes, and get your brain nice and clear so you can put more cobwebs in it. Mathematical cobwebs to spin out all over those examination papers next week.
You'll pass. Top of the list again, I'll wager?
I hope so.
Of course you will.
Would you like some tea?
Love it.
I'll have some ready in a moment.
What are you giggling about?
I was just thinking about that day I first met you at Monsieur Kowalski's and how frightened I was of you.
Frightened?
Well, impressed to be talking to such a famous scientist.
And now?
And now I'm proud that scientist is my friend. Oh, Pierre, this spring has been such a happy one.
Yes, Marie, it has.
And it will be over so soon. Examinations next week. And then back home to Warsaw.
But you're coming back in October. Promise me that you will come back.
Now, you know what I told you that afternoon we met. There's work for me in Poland. My father to care for, a position in the girls' school.
But if you stay there, you can't possibly continue your studies. You have no right to abandon science now.
Well, I should like to come back, Pierre. Very much.
Marie, you mean that?
Yes, Pierre, I do.
Then, Marie, you must come back. You must go on with your work. We can work together and...
We, Pierre?
Oh, don't you see, Marie? To have found someone who thinks as I do, who feels about science as I do, someone whose intelligence I can respect above all others. I love you, Marie. I want you to marry me.
What held and fascinated Pierre Curie was Marie's total devotion to her work. It was her genius, he thought. It was also her courage and nobility. This graceful girl had the character and gifts of a great man. He would win the girl, the Pole, the physicist. Three persons who had become indispensable to him. By words of reason, by words of tenderness, and by the deep, irresistible charm of his daily presence, Pierre Curie gradually made a human being out of a young hermit. By the following spring, she had capitulated. In July, they were married.
Now, Pierre's existence had only one ideal: to engage in scientific research at the side of this woman who also lived for science.
Marie's was a harder life because To the obsession of work was added the humble and tiring tasks of womankind. She could no longer neglect material life as she had done in the austere and careless days of her study at the Sorbonne.
8 hours of scientific research and 2 or 3 hours of housekeeping were not enough. In the evening, Marie Curie sat down at one end of the white wood table and became absorbed in her preparations for a fellowship competition. On the other side of the lamp, Pierre was driving up the program for his new course at the School of Physics.
Often, when she felt her husband's fine eyes upon her, she lifted her own eyes to receive a message of love and admiration. And a little smile was silently exchanged between this man and woman who loved each other. There was a light at the window of their room until 2 or 3 in the morning, and the only sound that could be heard was the ardent pianissimo of the running pen, the quiet rustle of the turning pages.
By the end of her 6th year in Paris, Marie Curie had acquired 2 university degrees, a fellowship, and a husband, and had produced a monograph on the magnetization of tempered steel, and had given birth to a beautiful baby girl.
The next step in the logical development of her career was a doctor's degree, and Marie began reviewing with Pierre the most recent works in physics in search of a subject for a thesis. I can't put the discovery of Henri Becquerel's out of my mind, Pierre.
You mean his research with X-rays?
No, what resulted from it? The rays he found originating in uranium salts.
Oh, yes.
Do you know, he found that uranium and its compounds emit these rays even after the material had been kept in total darkness for months.
Then the rays can't come from absorbed light.
Exactly. And the question is, where do they come from?
Why don't you find out?
I think I shall try. It's a completely new field.
Yes, Becquerel's reports were only made last year.
Do you think the university would consider the subject important enough for a doctor's thesis?
No question about it.
Then I'll begin at once. That is, after I take care of the baby. Established in a makeshift laboratory in a damp storeroom on the ground floor of the school where Pierre taught, Madame Curie set out on her great adventure. Each day they left for the school together. Each evening Pierre called for her in her dark, chilly laboratory.
Well, what's my little scientist discovered today?
Oh, Pierre, it's so exciting. I've just finished examining all the known elements to find if these rays come from uranium alone.
And what did you find?
Thorium has the same property, Pierre. They both have radioactivity.
Radioactivity? Where did you pick up that term?
Well, I thought it up to describe the properties of uranium and thorium.
And a very fine name it is. So my little Marie is adding words to the language as well as knowledge to science.
Well, we must have exact terms.
Certainly we must, little Marie. Now, what's the next step?
Well, Pierre, do you think you could lend me some of the minerals from the collection upstairs in the school?
Of course. Why?
I want to examine them, just to check. If my conclusions are right, then those minerals which contain thorium and uranium will be radioactive, and those without it will not.
That's right.
I thought it would be best to make such a check before I go ahead.
Marie, do you realize most scientists would have stopped when they had examined all the elements in the periodic table? It would not occur to them to check the results with minerals. You are a true scientist.
Pierre, I would rather hear those words from your lips than any other words in the world.
Experiments with the minerals confirmed Madame Curie's prediction.
Those that did not contain uranium and thorium did not show any radioactivity. But those that did contain the radioactive elements showed something amazing.
I can't understand it, Pierre, and I'm afraid to. The radioactivity of those minerals containing uranium or thorium is much greater than should be produced by the quantity of thorium or uranium present in the sample.
Have you checked your experiments?
Oh, yes, over and over again. And there is only one conclusion I can come to.
What is that?
I hesitate to speak the words, Pierre. Those minerals, those specimens of pitchblende, contain a substance which is much more radioactive than either uranium or thorium.
What is it?
Remember, Pierre, I have already tested all known chemical elements.
Then those minerals contain a new element.
Yes, that is what I didn't dare say. I think I've located the source of a new element.
I'm not surprised. It is what I would expect of you. Oh, Marie, I am so proud.
Oh, but my dear, all I have is the evidence of the new element. I haven't found it yet. There is much more work to be done.
Marie, would you let me help you?
But you are helping me, my dear. You've always helped me.
No, I mean here in the laboratory, working with you. This is important.
But what about your own work in crystallography?
That's nothing compared to the work you are doing.
Pierre, you must not ask me to let you help me.
Why not?
My dear, rather, I must ask you. Pierre, will you help me? We cannot and must not attempt to find out what should be credited to Marie and what to Pierre during the next 8 years of their life together. Let us not attempt to separate these creatures full of love, whose handwriting alternates and combines in the working notebooks covered with formulae. These creatures who were to sign all their scientific publications together. They were to write, "We found and we observed." And when they were constrained by fact to distinguish between their parts, they were to employ the moving locution, "one of us."
In July 1898, they announced in the Proceedings of the Academy,
We believe the substance we have extracted from pitchblende contains a metal yet unobserved, related to bismuth by its analytical properties.
If the existence of this new metal is confirmed, we propose to call it polonium from the name of the original country of one of us.
Thus, the little Polish girl had remembered her native land in naming her first discovery.
But there was yet another discovery to come, for the Curies had found that their pitchblende seemed to contain not one, but two radioactive substances.
6 months later, the Proceedings of the Academy of Science carried another joint announcement.
The various reasons we have just enumerated lead us to believe that the new radioactive substance contains a new element to which we propose to give the name of radium.
But no one had yet seen radium. Scientists were unwilling to embrace the concept of spontaneous radiation, which upset the fundamental theories upon which their thinking had been based for centuries. Queried the physicist.
How do you explain this radioactivity?
Questioned the chemist.
Show us some radium, and we will believe you. You have not even given us the atomic weight for it yet.
For 4 years, Pierre and Marie Curie worked on the proof science demanded. 4 years of hard physical labor, of delicate laboratory experiments, reducing by process after process tons of the pitchblende ore which hid the precious element they knew it possessed.
And to think, once I believed that the radium content of pitchblende was 1%, I doubt now that it contains a gram to a ton.
This work is too much for you, my little Marie. Your cough is worse again.
Oh, no, it's all right. It's just the gas from these smelting basins irritates my throat, I suppose.
It's a pretty meager life I've let you in for.
It's perfect, Pierre. We have our work, and we have each other. But, Pierre?
Yes?
We can't exist without each other, can we? If one of us should disappear, the other could not survive.
You are wrong, Marie. Whatever happens, even if one has to go on alone, like a body without a soul, one must work just the same.
Yes, I was forgetting. In science, we must be interested in things, not in persons. Pierre? I wonder what it will be like, what it'll look like.
What?
Our radium. What form do you imagine it will take?
I don't know.
I should like it to have a very beautiful color, Pierre. Kilogram by kilogram, Marie treated the tons of pitchblende sent to her from Bohemia. With her terrible patience, she was, every day for 4 years, a physicist, a chemist, specialized worker, engineer, and laboring man, all at once. Nearly 4 years after she had begun her quest, Marie Curie succeeded in preparing a decigram of pure radium and had determined its atomic weight at 225. Here was the proof. Radium now existed. That night, Marie and Pierre were irresistibly drawn back to the laboratory they had left but a few hours before.
Just a moment, I'll get the light.
No, Pierre, no. Don't light the lamp.
But why?
Do you remember that day when I said I should like radium to have a beautiful color?
Yes.
Look.
Oh.
It is something better than a beautiful color.
Why, it glows in the dark like something alive, like a great firefly.
Come, Pierre, let us just sit here and look at it.
Like something alive.
Hold me close, Pierre.
Prodigious radium.
Its rays were 2 million times as strong as those of uranium.
It spontaneously produced an emanation, radon, which destroyed itself even when enclosed in a glass tube.
It gave off heat.
It made an impression on a photographic plate through thick black paper.
Its rays penetrated every substance but lead.
In darkness, it gave off enough light to read by.
It was contagious, inducting radioactivity to any object, plant, or animal brought in contact with it.
Does radium upset all the old physical theories of inert matter and the immovable atom?
But what was it good for?
Pierre Curie and Professors Bouchard and Balthazard discovered that the emanations of radium, by destroying diseased cells, cured growths and tumors, and in some cases, certain forms of cancer.
A few months later, Marie Curie received the compensation for which she had discovered radium, the degree of Doctor of Physical Science, awarded with very honorable mention.
6 months later, the Academy of Science in Stockholm, in solemn general meeting, announced that the Nobel Prize in Physics for 1903 had been awarded half to Henri Becquerel and half to Pierre and Marie Curie for their discoveries in radioactivity.
Overnight, Pierre and Marie Curie became the rage. Fame, breaking about their heads like a hurricane, stunned the two quiet scientists and stripped them of the privacy in which they had worked. Gone were opportunities for silence and meditation.
An interview for the London Times, Madame Curie. It will take just a few moments of your time.
Couldn't you prepare just a brief article for us, Monsieur Curie?
So, this is the laboratory in which you work. Can you tell us in a few words how you happened to discover radium?
Why don't they let us alone, Pierre? How can we work in the midst of so much hubbub?
We'll have to do the best we can. At least the money we get for articles and lectures pays for our new materials and young men to help us.
But I'm so tired, and there's so much work to be done, and all these people leave us no time to do it. I want to be free to work now, because soon I shall have to stop for a while.
Why, Marie, why? Is your cough worse?
No, don't you remember that in 5 months?
Oh, yes, I had forgotten.
The Curies are a great little couple.
In December 1904, a plump baby was born, another daughter, Eve. Relaxed by this forced rest, Marie regained her taste for life. She approached her laboratory apparatus with a pleasure she had forgotten. And for the next year and a half, the Curies resumed with productive vitality their familiar collaboration.
The French government made plans to give them a fine new laboratory, but the plans always fell through. Marie and Pierre might have resented it, but they were too happy with their other work, their children, and each other to be deeply hurt by it. Being on April 19th, 1906.
Did you enjoy your omelet, Pierre?
Did I eat an omelet? It's quite possible.
You grow more absent-minded every day, my dear.
There is so much to think about.
Yes, I know, but please try to remember not to make any plans for Saturday.
Oh, why not?
We promised the children we'd take them to the country again.
I shan't forget, I promise. I am blessed above all men to have 2 such children.
They're growing so fast.
And blessed in you, Marie. Life has been sweet with you.
Our life is sweet, Pierre.
So late already. Oh well, I must rush. Goodbye, my dear.
Goodbye, Pierre.
I'll be back in plenty of time for dinner.
Take your coat, Pierre. It's raining. Oh, he'll catch his death of cold someday.
It's that afternoon, coming back from his publisher's, Pierre Curie walked along the Rue Dauphine in the driving rain. The sidewalk was narrow and crowded. Pierre, by instinct, sought for a free road. He walked sometimes on the stone curb, sometimes in the street itself, with the uneven step of a man who pursues his meditation. He had been walking on the cobblestones for several minutes behind a closed cab when he decided to cross the street to the other sidewalk. With the sudden movement of an absent-minded man, he abandoned the shelter of the cab and turned abruptly to the left, directly into the path of a heavy wagon drawn by 2 horses.
Surprised, Pierre, in an awkward movement, attempted to hang on to the chest of one of the horses, which suddenly reared. The scientist's heels slipped on the wet pavement, and he fell beneath the feet of the powerful animals. His body passed between the feet of the horses without even being touched, and then miraculously between the 2 front wheels of the wagon. But the enormous mass, dragged on by its weight of 6 tons, continued for several yards more. The left back wheel encountered a feeble obstacle which it crushed in passing. A forehead. A human head. The cranium was shattered, and a red, viscous matter trickled in all directions in the mud. The magnificent brain of Pierre Curie. Madame Curie, widow of the illustrious scientist who died so tragically last April, has been named to her husband's chair at the Sorbonne. and will deliver her first lecture on Monday, November 5th, 1906, at 1:30 in the afternoon.
I wonder what she'll say.
Well, her subject is the theory of irons and gases.
Yes?
But a new professor at the Sorbonne is supposed to thank the minister and the university. And it's the custom to begin by pronouncing the eulogy on one's predecessor.
Oh, but this is different. Madame Curie is the first woman ever asked to lecture at the Sorbonne, and her predecessor was her husband.
What do you suppose she'll say about him?
There she comes now.
Oh, she's so small and pale.
Oh, I think she's lovely.
When one considers the progress that has been made in physics in the past 10 years, one is surprised at the advance that has taken place in our ideas concerning.
Madame Curie had resumed the course at the precise sentence where Pierre Curie had left it.
Pierre, we can't exist without each other, can we? If one of us should disappear, the other would not survive.
You are wrong, Marie. Whatever happens, even if one has to go on alone, like a body without a soul, one must work just the same.
Yes, I was forgetting. In science, we must be interested in things, not in persons.
And Marie Curie went on and on. Pierre had been a great scientist before they had met. Their collaboration defies individual identification. So much was it for the work of both, functioning as one mind. But now Marie Curie was to go on alone, pale, slight, sad-faced. This little woman was to gain fame and celebrity such as no woman has ever known in the world's history. And yet, for the next 28 years of service to science, Marie Curie probably was never fully conscious of the greatness that was hers.
Benjamin Franklin Medal, second-time winner of the Nobel Prize in 1911. Member Extraordinary of the Royal Academy of Sciences. Honorary member of the Royal Institution of Great Britain. Foreign member of the Chemical Society of London. Corresponding member of the Batavian Philosophical Society.
The list is long. 8 prizes, 16 medals and decorations, 105 honorary titles, showered upon this magnificent woman by a grateful and admiring world. She died in 1934, finally a victim of the radium she had discovered.
A year later, the book which Marie had finished before disappearing brought her last message to young lovers of physics. At the Radium Institute, which she had founded, the enormous volume was added to other scientific works in the light-filled library. On the gray cover was the name of the author, Madame Pierre Curie, professor at the Sorbonne, Nobel Prize in Physics, Nobel Prize in Chemistry. The title was made of one severe and glowing word: radioactivity.
You have just heard a radio interpretation of Madame Curie, a biography of Eve Curie published by Doubleday, Doran and Company, and now available at bookstores from coast to coast. William N. Robson adapted the book for radio. Miss Anne Bowley played the role of Madame Curie. Mr. House Jameson the role of Pierre Curie. Bernard Herrmann conducted the orchestra. The entire production was under the direction of Mr. Robson. The Columbia Workshop has employed in this broadcast a technique of radio presentation unfamiliar to American listeners. The workshop wants to know whether this device of multiple narrations and long quotations from a book has been effective, whether by its use we have conveyed to you the character of Madame Curie and the magnitude of her work. Please address your comments, criticisms, and suggestions to the Columbia Workshop, care of the Columbia Network, New York City.
Thank you for tuning in to SCCT Radio Hour right here on Gila Members Community Radio, KURU 89.1 FM, Silver City, New Mexico, and online at gmcr.org. Special thanks to our cast and to our brilliant audio engineer, Chris Wellman of Mystic Way Productions, for making this show possible. I'm your hostess, Wendy Spurgeon, hoping you enjoyed today's episode all about the Curies. Please join us again next Sunday at 4 o'clock as we continue our homage to the golden age of radio.